Yeah, hi guys. Welcome to online YouTube channel. This channel is useful for learning Python as well as the Airflow. With respect to the main focus on the GCP components. So today we are going to learn about how to prepare a DAG file for the Airflow environment. So in my previous video, I explained about how to create VM instance and how to install the Airflow on the VM instance that you created on the GCP platform. And then now we are preparing one airflow DAG. So in this demo, I'm going to cover all the important sections that we need to utilize in order to create a DAG complete file. So the DAG file may consist of different sections. I divide all these sections into different 5 to 6 sections. The very important section, the first section is importing of the required modules related to the Python and Airflow, and defining of the default arguments, second section, and instantiation of the DAG object. So in between these two, you can prepare some custom Python functions which are very useful in running the data pipelines using your business logics. And even after the instantiation of the DAG object, you need to define the tasks that are involved in the workflow of that particular DAG file. And finally, you need to set the task dependencies among the tasks that you created in between instantiation of the DAG object and the task dependencies section. So these are the 5 or 6 fundamental sections are important while preparing the DAG file for the Airflow environment. Once the DAG file is prepared, you need to test that one. So task by task, you can test the DAG file, and after once you are done with the testing of the all the tasks of the DAG, you can then monitor the DAG execution from the flow web server user interface. So these are the steps involved in this one. It may take longer time while explaining this one, so please have the patience and let's get started with the first slide. In the first section, as I said earlier, we need to import the required modules. There might be different modules you can import, like OS module, sys module, some time specific modules, datetime module, and even including some operators. Operators may be inbuilt operators of the or provided operators or something like you can import multiple operators per se Python operator, dummy operator, bash operator, and Kubernetes pod operator, or even some other operators like branch Python operator and short circuit operator. There might be many things. So according to the requirement of your workflow, you need to import certain operators which are really important to be there in the DAG file. So once this section is finished, then we need to go on to the default argument section. So before that, let me explain two things about the importing section. So importing required modules involves maybe sometimes in external code also. That means you can prepare the external code with the Python, and you can import that particular files into the DAG file. And even you can prepare some functionalities in separate file. You can import that particular functions into the DAG file by giving that file name as the module in the DAG file script. And you can do this one to accomplish specific tasks or creating of the desired workflows. So as is the case in the Apache Airflow DAG declaration, it is all very important. And what does it mean actually the from Airflow import DAG? Imports the DAG clause from the Airflow module. It allows you to create a direct SQL graph in the Airflow. So without this module, you cannot create the DAG. So that's the reason it is the basic DAG file. DAG module, you need to import it from on the Airflow and Airflow software itself. And then the second one is from Airflow.operators Python underscore object operator import Python operator. This Python operator is useful for running the Python functions. So Python operator is useful very like it will enable you to define the Python based tasks within the time. You can call the some Python functions which are developed or you I mean prepare the code in the tag file using Python callable parameter that you pass with this particular tag class. So here and the third one is like from datetime import datetime. So it is the Python module. So it imports the datetime class of the Python inbuilt datetime module. So it used for the specifying of the timestamps. Those timestamps are useful for calculating event task instance analysis. Especially, we use the start underscore date of this date parameter for running of the DAG. So to where actually, I mean, on which date the DAG should run by. So we take start underscore date. It is the parameter we define using the datetime module. And coming to the second section, so defining of the default arguments. So before looking at the defining of the default arguments, so let us write the code of this one, like from airflow import tag and all these things. So for that, I am using here VS Code editor here. So I will develop even the DAG file while explaining it. So the first section is importing section, right? So importing section. So required Python modules can be imported here. So for required modules modules importing section. So I am just writing the code of this development of the DAG file. So from airflow import DAG, that is the first one we need to import, and the second one is from datetime module. So from datetime import datetime, and even time datetime. And next one, we can import other required other operators from in this section. But here I am importing only two operators, that is dummy operator and Python operator for the demo purpose. From airflow dot operators. So these are inbuilt operators. So we are importing from airflow dot operators dot dummy import dummy operator. Each operator is a class of Python, so you need to understand that one. Airflow dot operators. This time Python. So Python. So you can import the Python operator using this one. Import Python operator. So we imported the required operators like DAG and then the datetime and dummy operator, and then finally Python operators. So importing section is finished. Then we need to move on to the second section. That section is default argument section. Default arguments. So let us look into the slide which explain about the default arguments. So in the default arguments, we provide the different default arguments, very important, like one depends on past, start underscore date, email and failure, email and retry underscore delay. So these are the basic, arguments we pass through the DAG object, so which are very essential. So why should we define the default arguments for the DAG? That is very important for this demo. So that's the reason default underscore arguments, you can pass all of this one. Here you can mention the emails. So the emails to which you would like to send the email if the DAG gets failed or something like. So in Apache Airflow, the default argument section within the DAG div is used to provide a set of default parameters actually. So the default parameters are arguments that can be shared across all the tasks, because DAG is nothing but a collection of tasks. So the DAG object includes the different tasks. So all the tasks are having different parameters. But for a few things, like, so they will be having the common parameters for this DAG. So that's the reason we pass the common parameters using the default arguments for each task. So these default arguments define the attributes that are common to all the tasks in the DAG, unless you can even override by specific task level parameters also. But most of the times we pass the common parameters using the default arguments, like start date, email, retrace underscore delay, depends on the cost, all these things. So use of the default arguments gets you the consistency, like it helps in maintaining of the consistent settings across all the tags within a tag file. And even it will avoid the redundancy. That means it reduces the need to specify common parameters again and again for each task. No need of specifying the common parameters for all the tasks. For example, if you are having three tasks with the Python operator or something other operators also, there are some common parameters like the task executions, like start date and all these things. Those even retries and the email sending, all these things can be given using the default argument section. So for each task separately, we need not to pass the all the parameters or the arguments. So to avoid that situation, we use the default arguments to avoid the redundancy. So very important one. You need to mention this one. So centralized configuration. It allows for easy management of the common attributes in a single place. Very important. Common attributes can be given in a single Python or text object. So using that one, you can pass to the DAG instantiation object. Later on, through the DAG instantiation object, it can be passed to the all the tasks of the DAG file. Very important, guys. So keep in mind, even though default arguments are applied across the DAG, you can still override these arguments for individual tasks when defining them within the DAG. So providing the flexibility for the specific task level configuration, you can even change all of them. So very important, guys. So next. So in our default argument section, I will provide you some of the basic default arguments in this section. So let us take the default underscore arguments as the variable here. So using that one, you can specify all these key and values also in the form of arguments only. So the first one is the warner. We can specify it like hello. You can give anything for this one. It displays the owner of the tag, and it depends on the cost. Depends on the cost. So sometimes we need to go back to the cost date for running of the tag. So at the time we use this flag either true or false. So here in our case it is false. We are setting the boolean value for this one, and then start underscore date. So it is very essential from which date the DAG should start running. So that can be given using this one. So for this we need the date time class. So using this one you need to give the date. So the date time is imported from the one of the modules that we imported in the importing section, like the date time. So using that one, this parameter is set up. And next one is like email on failure you can set, email on retry also you can set, retrace also you can set. So I'm directly going on to the retrace. So retrace, how many retries? If the task gets failed, how many times you can retry for the same task? That can be given here. You can set it like an integer value. It might be 1, 2, 3. You can set. And so in between the two tasks, if the one task gets, fail, then the retry of the same task, there should be some delay, like it should take some gap. So the gap should be given through the one of the parameters. That parameter is nothing but retry underscore delay. Now the retry underscore delay can be set up using the time delta. So it is the class imported in the DAG importing section. So I'm using that one. I'm giving it the time interval for this one is 5 minutes. So you can set it like even 5 minutes, 10 minutes like that. So this is the basic of giving the default arguments. So once this section is finished, later on you can have the other section. Of course, you can have your Python functions section. Python functions section. You can prepare the Python functions in this section. Python functions section. For the business logics, you can develop. But usually in real time, sometimes we define the Python functions here, or sometimes we can define it in the other modules of the Python, and we import those modules using the includes or subsections. We use them and we import it here in the DAG file itself in the module section. And after this, the very important section, that is DAG instantiation section. DAG instantiation section. So in this section, we start the DAG object. So very important. So DAG object should be instantiated in this section. So instantiation of the DAG object is like DAG is equal to DAG. We use the DAG module here. So here we need to provide the certain parameters like DAG ID, default arguments. So in the default arguments, we define the default arguments. Those default arguments should be passed through this parameter like default underscore arguments. So all the dict objects, the parameters that you define in the default arguments pass through this DAG object, the DAG object. In the description, we are giving the name of the description for the DAG actually. So the DAG ID, something it says to the information about the logic, that the workflow or the data pipeline that we are going to build up through this DAG file. However, even you can give the further more information about the DAG file in the description parameter. So and the next one is the schedule underscore interval. It is very important. The schedule underscore interval is with respect to the DAG object. That means while running this data pipeline, the DAG should run on one specific start date, like it starts on one specific start date. After that, using this schedule underscore interval only, the DAG is going to be run repeatedly. So that time interval is going to be specified using this schedule underscore interval. Time delta days is equal to 1. But suppose if the DAG is run yesterday, so the as we are mentioning days is equal to 1. Today the DAG is going to be run again at the same time. So and tomorrow also at the same time it is going to be run. So in such a way, the airflow scheduler takes care of when the DAG is to be run, and the time interval between two DAG runs is going to be taken care by the scheduler. So very important. So purpose of instantiation of the DAG object is like it is a foundation for the entire workflow of the DAG file.